Go. Looks like it's recording. Cool. All right, everybody, welcome to class number 2, the Medium School. So first, basically, jump right into it. The agenda for today is I'm gonna touch on some questions that I got throughout the week about last week's class. Going to that first, and then we'll go on today's material, which is determining your principles on Medium and why Medium is awesome. And that we can talk about that all day, but there's a couple kind of main reasons why Medium is so powerful, and we'll get into that. We'll also jump into some formatting and like adding images and all that kind of stuff, which is kind of part of why Medium is awesome, because it's so usable, so user-friendly. So we're going to talk about that as well. And then Q&A after that. So like the typical class here takes about an hour or so, and a little over an hour is totally fine. So we'll just kind of jump in here, but I want to jump on the questions from last week. I will try to keep an eye on the chat throughout this, but if I do miss it, I will make sure to circle back during the Q&A and answer anything I might have missed. So but about the hat, I was in Chicago last week because we're moving to Chicago, and I got a Cubs hat because we're going to be living about a mile west of Wrigley Field. And if any of you are baseball fans, you know how big of a deal that is. So I got the hat. Anyway, okay. Let's see. Questions from last week. Questions, these are kind of questions and kind of like inquiries. They kind of like had to do with last week's material. And, you know, sometimes they're kind of not so relevant, but it's okay. Let me share my screen with you. I have a little slideshow I made for everybody here, if I can pull it up. There it is. And then we got the webinar. Share screen. There we go. Cool. All right. So you guys should be able to see my screen at this point, or the slideshow, the Medium School. See me in the big old pencil right there. If you can't see it, please let me know in the chat. So last week we touched on, week 1 was know thyself. It all starts with you, and know thy audience. It's not who you might think. Today, this week 2 is know thy principles, drawing a line in the sand, and why Medium. Don't start on an island. That's a big deal. So we'll get into that. But in case you missed it, the email that went out, but basically all these videos, recorded videos, will live here at jonasellison.com /Medium School Archives. And you should have that link. If you don't have that link, let me know, or just jot it down right now. So what I'll go ahead and do is put that in the chat so you can just, you can have that. So where it is, chat. And there it is. If you guys can look in the chat, it's there now. You can just click on that link, bookmark it, and today's recording will be there as well. I should be able to put it up there some point today, tomorrow-ish. So hopefully you have that. And if not, let me know. So like we do at this point, please take a second to any distractions. Go ahead and turn those on silent if you can. If you're an ER doctor, then that might be difficult, and I totally understand. But if not, go ahead and turn your phones on mute, and just make this a time to be present and to work on your stuff, your creative work, which is the most important work you're ever going to do. So cool. So let's breathe and center. Like loosen up the shoulders a little bit. Feel those sit muscles wherever you're sitting or standing. If you're standing, feel like you're rooted in the ground, and just be present, because this is going to be an awesome class. So okay. Questions from last class. Like I said, we're jumping into that. So okay. First question I got was from Jenna. Basically, to sum it up, and tell me if I need to expand on this, feel free in the Q&A section to let me know, and I can expand on it if I don't fully cover it. But she kind of says, like, the possibility of people not understanding how Medium works. And, if you have a demographic that maybe isn't so tech savvy, that might be a concern. Um, and yeah, I totally get it. But I think honestly that Medium is one of the easiest platforms to use, both on the reader side and on the creator side. Um, if you just read Medium, you can just get the phone app, and you don't have to create anything. You just have, if you can log in, and let me know if you like. I don't know. I don't want to waste anybody's time, but if you need help, like creating a profile or creating, just getting kind of like set up on Medium, I can go into that. It's really easy. Like when you go to medium.com for the first time, it kind of just walks you through it. Like it says, sign in through Twitter, sign in through Facebook, sign in through email. I always recommend, if you have a Twitter account, to log in, or to sign up through Twitter, or at least to integrate those two, because the people who started Twitter started Medium, and it's just easier. It's really, they work well together when it comes to like sharing. You can highlight certain areas of text and click the little Twitter button, and it shares on your Twitter, things like that. So basically all you have to do is sign in through Twitter or Facebook. It pulls over your profile, like your name and your photo, and then you kind of just like, you're set up and ready to go, and then you just start writing. And we'll go into today how to create a post, and how to like format it, some different formatting things, and how to put images in there. I'll talk about some sources for images, and but really, I think I have a demographic that I would consider not extremely tech savvy. Like I just know my audience pretty well, and I know that there's a large portion of them who aren't crazy tech savvy. So I don't think that's a big concern, honestly. At least I haven't come across it. So next question was, let's see here. The series function, like on the mobile app, like how do you use a series function? So for that, I honestly I've tried that before. Here's the thing. I like to think of myself as a user, right? And I just, for one, I don't ever read those. I don't ever interact with those. I think I've looked at some of them and they're pretty cool. But like I've tried to create some of my own, and I'm like, it's kind of limited in that you can't link to anything in the stories. I think they just enabled video, so you can add video. But when I tried to add a video, it was like too big. The file was too big or whatever, and it was really slow. I've had a pretty bad experience with stories so far, and I just don't. I'm really like, when it comes to this kind of thing, and you probably know what I'm saying, in that there's so many things you can do online to like engage with your audience. There's so many social media platforms. There's so many different things you can do, but I think keep it simple. Like, what is your wheelhouse? For me, it's like my articles are my thing. That's my thing. And my emails, So that's what I try to stick to. I'm barely on Facebook. I am on Instagram more, because the stories on Instagram are way better than the stories on Medium. I'm not sure what your experience is with Instagram stories, but it's amazing. It's really cool. It takes a little bit of getting used to, and it's not part of this class really, so I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But take a look at it. YouTube, like how to set up an Instagram story, and you can do some really cool things with Instagram stories if you're into video and multimedia and stuff like that. So yeah. And then the import a story feature, I think that's, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's from WordPress, where you can import the stories from WordPress. And I think that's great. I've never really used it. I write my articles directly on Medium, my stories directly on Medium. So I've never really used the import a story feature. But if you have articles on WordPress from an old blog, then yeah, I would say totally feel free to upload them. You may have heard some horror stories about like Google downranking you if you have duplicate content on the web, and I think they've kind of updated their policy, the way their algorithm or whatever to not penalize you for duplicated content. So that's not a worry. Yeah, go ahead. I think go for it. Go ahead and import your stories, and if you want, I mean, you probably don't need to do all of them, but just like your favorite ones. If you have an old blog, you want to import them, that's fantastic. I'm all for it. So layout, we're going to get into layout today. We will get into some writing, like the craft of writing at some point in another class or two about writing for the web. So I don't want to belabor that now. And then I got the question of how to tell stories about other people, like dialogue, family, friends, coworkers, things like that, and kind of like how to format that, how to write that correctly, if you will. So on that point, I would. Here's the thing: I barely passed like English class in high school. Like I barely graduated high school. I don't consider myself a good writer in the classical sense. I'm probably pretty bad with grammar. I don't know. I think I'm okay. Like at least I hope I'm okay. But I've caught some slip ups in grammar. But here's the thing: there's kind of a new way of writing on the web. It's more conversational. Now, I would say read like Strunk and White, the Strunk and White book on grammar. I forget the name of it. I'm blanking on the name, but it's a classic book of writing, and that's just like a little volume of like the things you need to know for people to actually understand you. And I think if you have the grasp of that, that's amazing. Also, like the yeah, the Grammarly is a thing. Grammarly is an app. You can Google it, find it. I found it to be kind of expensive, but really just kind of writing conversationally, and that just takes experience. Like, sometimes I'll do like I guess like a sentence with a question in the middle of it, to where it's like kind of like a question within a sentence, and like I don't know if it like MLA style, if it's like correct or anything, but like when I read it and other people read it, it seems to work. So yeah, I'm probably not the best source when it comes to that. I would check out Strunk and White, and I can also include some links to some books and some resources about just kind of grammar and stylistic resources to help you out. Nope, no problem. So, all right, looks like we might have gotten a chat here if I can figure out how to get to it. Yep, thank you, Joy. Elements of Style, Strunk and White. Yes, that one. Read that one. That's the best. So, all right, moving down the line here. I think that might have been it from last week. So thank you for sharing those questions via email and in the Facebook group. Those have been, I think that adds to this class quite a bit. So, okay, moving on down the line here. So part one, know thy principles, drawing a line in the sand. This is, this is big. So last week we touched on like knowing yourself. It all starts with you. So like getting to know what you're into, what kind of content you like to consume, what kind of books is in your bookshelf. That is your thing, and that you have to stay true to that. Knowing the audience, we talked about the email technique where you sit down and you write an email, you write your post like it's an actual email to a friend or a family member or someone who you're comfortable writing to. And also the second technique of the meta version of you. So you're writing to like a younger version of yourself. I love that. Or like just different, like a clone version of you sitting across the room where this person gets you, this person has like your DNA, but they're not you. So you have to convey your message in a clear, concise, compelling way. So those are what we touched on last week. Now we're kind of zooming out a little bit to the principles, right? So like, what are your principles? And it's kind of really like, who are you here to serve? Who are your people? And we kind of talked about that last week. But I think what I want to throw into that conversation here, and that's why I call it drawing a line in the sand. Can you guys see this? Is this full screen showing up in your browser there? Like, or is it getting cut off? I think it might be getting cut off. I'm guessing. Okay, so it looks like we're good. There we go. That's probably maybe a little better. Okay. Yeah. So yeah. So drawing a line in the sand, right? So let me tell you a little story here about when I first started writing, right? So as you might know, I write a lot about spirituality, mindfulness, things like that. So yeah, and I used to share these posts on my personal Facebook page. Now, a lot of you might know how obnoxious Facebook can be, right? Facebook comments can get a little bit out of hand. People think they're kind of superhuman on Facebook for some whatever reason. But I would share these posts on Facebook, and there was one person in particular who I love very much, and I care what they think of me. That's just kind of like I know it's. I wish I could say like I don't care what people think of me, but like this one person, I really do care what they think of me, right? Anyway, they kind of had an issue. They took issue to my post because occasionally I drop the very occasional curse word, swear word. Sometimes it's even like an F-bomb. I have mellowed out in my older age, but this is back in the day. Anyway, they took issue with that, and they were like, oh, you have a daughter now, and oh my God, what if she sees you cussing, and how can you like cuss when you're like a spiritual person? You're supposed to be a better example than that. On down the line. So I'm just going to go ahead and say right now who this person was or is. This person is my mother-in-law. Yes, it is. This is not her, by the way, in this photo. My mother-in-law is much better looking. She's much healthier. She's not to say this woman isn't good looking. I don't know. Anyway, it was my mother-in-law, and like I said, I care what she thinks. Like we're very close to her. But yeah, but she's very outspoken. She's Italian and she's very outspoken. And I would put my posts up and she would come back with like, kind of like passive aggressive, like sometimes very just aggressive. And so I started censoring myself. When I wrote, I would be like, I want to say this, but what if she sees it? I don't want any of that blowback. So I would censor myself, and really my writing suffered. Like not only like externally, not only did people not engage with it as much, but internally it was like way more work for me to sit down and create from that point. And then I read something from I think it was Seth Godin, who is, as you might know by now, my blogging Yoda. And he said, you have to determine who your work is not for. So determining who your work is for is very important. But I would say if you don't do this, the flip side of that coin in determining who your work is not for, then it's just as bad as not determining who your work is for. So I had to like kind of decide like, okay, my work is for this kind of person. My work is not for my mother-in-law. Like I love my mother-in-law. She's an amazing woman, but her and I do not see eye to eye when it comes to some things, some important things like spirituality, politics, life. So we don't see eye to eye. I mean, really, and that's fine. I mean, but if you're going to do this, you're going to succeed in this whole thing. You have to share your truth. You have to write boldly. You have to be kind of like, you have to share your opinion freely, even if it's not right. I mean, I share stuff that I know. I mean, if I look back at my old posts, I'm like, oh, that's that. I don't think that anymore. But like, you have to, in the moment, you have to share boldly. And if you're scared of someone, like attacking that or whatever, then it hampers that. Now, that's not to say like you do want to take into consideration what your audience, who you're here to serve, cares about and what they need, what they like, that's great. I mean, but you just have to define who that person is and who that person isn't. And when you define who that person isn't, you draw that line in the sand and you say, my work is not for this person. then you just have to remind yourself that every single time your internal editor tells you to, hey, take that out. Don't put that in there. Don't put it in. Stay safe. That might cause a conflict. Every time you hear that voice, and you'll hear it quite a bit if you're on the right track, especially, you have to just override it. You have to say, you know what? My work is not for that person. There are plenty of things for that person to read online that 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 person would love, and it's not me. It's not my stuff. Um, and really, I just stopped sharing my posts on Facebook. Like I just like, okay, my Facebook is like my friends, kind of friends and family from way back when, and I post pictures of my daughter or whatever. And I just don't put my work, my higher thoughts blog posts on Facebook much at all, just because I don't want to deal with that. Because a lot of those people from my past, who I still consider friends, I still consider very close people. I don't know, but I've changed, and like we've changed, and like they might not see eye to eye with me, and I don't want to worry about that. I don't want to have that extra noise of like worrying about what they're going to think of me, what they're going to think of like my views and whatever. So really just keep this in mind. And it's very important to sit down and write out, my work is not for, and if you have a name, I'm sure you have a name. We all have a name of that person. To write that down, it takes constant, because you don't want to censor yourself. You want to speak freely. So, yeah. Um, cool. Alex, you get, yeah, yep. I saw that Facebook group. That's awesome. I think and I created a Facebook group, um, as well. Well, if like a fan page or whatever. I just hardly ever get, I probably should use it more, but I don't, just because I don't know. I just like to focus on like Medium, email. It's pretty much it. So cool. Yeah. So moving on. You know what? Let's take this time. Let's take a second here before we move on. To Yeah, I don't like Facebook either, Jenna. Cool. Let's take this time to, if you want to, throw in the chat. Throw in the chat, like, where's a safe space? We're not going to tell anyone. Do you have that someone? Do you have that someone who um, who kind of censors you, or who you, at least you're making up that they're censoring you, right? Um, Throw in the chat who that person. You don't have to say names you don't want to. You could say it's my old coworker, it's my fifth grade teacher, it's my high school football coach, or whatever. Like, do you have that someone, or is it just me? All right. Jenna says, it would be easier to say who agrees with me than who doesn't. Well, that's good. That's awesome, Jenna. If you have surrounded yourself by uh, a lot of agreeable people, that is amazing. Good for you. Um, okay, sounds like you guys don't have that person. Okay, some of us do, and I've talked to some people who do. So if you don't have that person, then that's awesome. Then this doesn't apply to you. Cool. All right. All right. All right. Okay, moving on. So why Medium, right? And I've got some questions about like, should I do my personal WordPress blog and then like do Medium on the side? Should I just move everything to Medium? Should I just keep my blog on WordPress and just do the occasional post on Medium? What do I do? So here's the thing. And I'll go in a little bit of a backstory first, right? So backstory is like back in the day, if you are an old school blogger like myself, been around for a while, you probably remember a thing called Google Reader. And I'm not sure if you were on the webinar here, but I talked about this. But basically, Google Reader was a thing where you log in and you have all of your blogs in one place. You see, this is just a screenshot of something I found online. This is not mine, but like you have all your TechCrunch, your Daily Dot, all of your blogs on that left column. And then, when you're at work or hanging out, you're bored, you click on your updated one, so that when it updates, it turns bold. So you click on it and you just read the latest posts, and it's all in one place. All the blogs you love are in one place. You don't need to go to separate websites. Everything is in one comfortable, convenient package. Well, eventually, a few years ago, I think it was, Google Reader decided to ixnay that. They canceled Google Reader. And for a lot of people, this was like kind of like a big deal. Like, oh man, all my blogs lived in one place, and I didn't have to go to different websites. And now you guys canceled it. And there were a couple like alternatives. Like I think Feedly was one. There were a couple of alternatives to this, but they weren't as big as Google Reader. So basically, this kind of like scattered the blogosphere, if you will. So now I had to go to all the different websites, the blogs that I like, and I had to subscribe to the ones that I liked via email. And like, I would get that email and they would show up in my inbox, and kind of between like the electricity bill and the obnoxious email chain from my grandpa, they kind of like make their way in my inbox kind of in a scattered way, but it just wasn't the same. Well, like Medium came along, and voila, all of your favorite bloggers and writers and columnists, and I mean, not all of them yet, but like a lot of them are in Medium. So you have we're back to like a one-stop shop. And more people are finding out about Medium every day, and they're signing up and they are loving it. I mean, for the most part, and that they can just go in there, they can follow publications, they can follow individual writers, they can, all the enjoyable reading is in one place, and they can curate it for kind of however they want, and it's all there. They don't need to because now like we live on these little phones, and it's really arduous to go to let's go to Bob's website, let me open up my Chrome app, www.bobswebsite.com, enter, okay, where's the blog, there's a blog, what I mean? It's kind of like, people just like to click on a thing and then scroll through. I know it's, we can go into social critiques and societal critiques, but it is the way it is. So Medium is great. It's just a great reading experience. The font is beautiful. The text is easy to read. Nice big font, beautiful. They've done a lot of studies in readability. So the spacing is nice, and the formatting, the beautiful images. There's no crazy widgets and sidebars and flashing lights and music and stuff like that. It's all just kind of simple. You just go to read the stuff you like to read, and it's all there. So, yeah, I mean, you look at the post and it's like, wow, it's so beautiful. It's just so readable. And I'm talking this is a reader's perspective, of course. And that's what we care about as writers, as the reader. So, yeah, so I would recommend moving your writing, as far as the blog goes, over to Medium. Now, if you, by chance, have a massive audience on your blog, then maybe not. If it's working out for you on your blog, then you're probably not in this class, I'm guessing. But then I would say keep going. But if you don't have a huge audience, it's really hard to get one from your own site. It's really hard because when you're on your own site, you're kind of on an island. You're kind of it's what are the chances that someone is going to Google in what they're looking for and find your article? Every day it's just getting more and more noisy on the web as far as Google SEO, unless you have money to put towards SEO advertising or whatever. So yeah, it's really hard to make it on your own blog. You can guest post, you can contribute to other bigger blogs and do that whole game. It's a lot of work. My experience on Medium was, if you have the writing chops, it does take some writing chops. We are in a writing atmosphere, so people have to like what you write. But if you get some traction, if people start to like you, they start to recommend you, you're showing up regularly, then Medium staff will help support you. They will share your work. for me, because I put in the work, I show up regularly, and I engage with my readers. I do the things that I consider this a big part of my creative life. So I show up and I do the things that make it good business. And Medium promotes my work. So like when new users log on to Medium, I'm kind of one of the top recommendations. And when people follow like spirituality, they can follow the spirituality tag, things like that. We'll talk about tags later too, but I come up. So anyway, Medium makes it very, very nice for your work to get found. It's not a guarantee. I'm not saying your work is guaranteed going to be found, but it gives it the best shot that I know of today. It really does. My story, as you might know, is I wrote this whole thing. I've been writing every day for over 2 years, but when I first started, I only wanted to do it for 30 days straight. On the 30th day, I wrote about it. I said what I learned after 30 straight days of blogging. I wrote a little post about it, and that was going to be the end of my experiment. And that post got picked up by the Huffington Post, got picked up by the Observer, the Daily Dot, several others. And it was like, oh, wow, like people are actually reading Medium now. Like kind of like high level eyes are on Medium. So it's a good place to be, if you can put in the time and you're a good writer, if you engage with your audience, if you follow some of the stuff we're going to be talking about throughout this next several weeks, then you're going to have a really good shot at getting your work found. It does take work. So, yeah, it's easy to create. It's really is easy on the, we talked a little bit the reading side in that for a blog reader, all those posts, you can curate your own experience. You can find your favorite writers and you can follow them and have all of your kind of reading material on one app or one site. But on the creating side, on the writer side, it is really, really easy to create. So let's go into some like formatting and like images stuff. And I don't want to like belabor you too much in this because it is pretty, it's really, they make it easy to do, but there are some things you might not know. And I just want to show you if you're a newcomer to Medium, just how easy it is to like kind of format your work and whatnot. So, all right. Yeah. Jenna remembers Google Reader. It's awesome. Okay. Do my screen share. Okay. So I just pulled up Medium. If you cannot see Medium on your screen, I just shared it with you. Let me know. But hopefully you can see it. So let's just go. So this is what it looks like on your Medium homepage. If you want to write a story, you just click on write a story. It's like pretty easy. Title. So best title ever. I don't know. We're just going to play around. So like it automatically formats your title. Now I can just start writing the post. Like, here we go. Let's start. So I can just do that. Or if I want to do a subtitle, I can just click on that bigger, or actually the smaller T, and that turns into a subtitle. And I can change that. Best subtitle ever. Now we're just writing our posts. Sorry, I just want to get some text in here. I like hipster ipsum. So let's see here. Where is it? Okay, I'm just going to copy and paste some text in here. So we can just write our post. There is a text. We can, format it. We'll talk about like kind of more artistic elements in a future class. But really, like what I like to do is like in the middle of my post, I like to put kind of a quotable. So you can highlight it. You can change it to a bigger thing. Like a subheading is that small T, or a quote. That's like a direct quote type thing. By clicking the quote once, if you click the quote thing twice, then it does that, which is kind of cool. If you want like a bold kind of like bam, like this is like the talking point of this article. I do that in my articles. Um, Change it back, just kind of toggles, you know. Like I said, if you want to do a subtitle here, you can highlight it, and the smaller T is like a subtitle. And then at the end, what I like to do is I go to a new line. And so every time you go to a new line, you'll see the plus sign. And the plus sign is where you can put your photo in there, which we'll talk to in a second. You can embed a video into your photo. When you click on the photo, it just pulls up like your whatever, you know, browser thing. I don't know what you call it, this thing. You know, you can put embed a link there. You can, but what I like to do is like at the end of my articles, hit the plus sign and do the two dashes as a divider, like a divider line like that. And then I do a like a call to action, like Jonas, and the third person, of course, just guys, just sounds professional, like whatever, is a great guy. Please follow his work here, whatever. And then you can do like a, you know, kind of a bigger text, and then you can link here to like your website. The link button, type your website in there. And I will send you this replay, so if I'm going too fast, you will be able to watch this and pause it and do all that good stuff. So bam, you can link it, and there you go. And you have your, so there, and we'll talk about calls to action too, but really always have a call to action, please. I don't care if it's like, hey, have any opinions? Email me, and like you put your email in there, whatever you want to do. But you know, it's a great place to link to your website, to your, yeah, I would say website. We're going to get into like email stuff later, so I don't want to talk about that now, but really just want to show you how easy it is to create a post. I mean, there's no coding, there's no HTML stuff going on. It's just like get in there, write a new story, start writing. And then if you want to change things around, you just either you highlight the text and it gives you options, bold, italic, or toggle on and off, link, type your link in there, you know, bigger text, smaller text, one kind of quote, the other kind of quote, or a personal. Now, another thing you can do is if you're like a scholarly type of writer and you like to include like footnotes, what you can do is highlight something or sources or whatever. You can put a, in the private note section, you can say source, blah, 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 and then hit that. And then people can see they'll see a little star on the side, and they can click that, and that'll open up that note, and they can, you know, if you want to do that, I don't do that, but you can. I'm just not a researchy kind of guy. Okay, so let's talk about, that's that. And if you have any questions, we'll jump into that pretty soon. Let's talk about images real fast, because I use one site only. I use unsplash.com. There's a ton of these out there. I mean, there's more and more of these like stock photo sites popping up. I have just not found anything easier and better than Unsplash. And if anybody has any resources for stock photos, please throw it in the chat for people to check out. I'll go ahead and throw this one in the chat. Let's see here. This is unsplash.com. But basically, yeah, so images. Let's talk about images here. This is kind of important. Please don't do this. Please don't go to Google. Like if you're writing about, I don't know, like kids or your kid or something like that. Don't go to Google and type in kids and then just like go to images and click like this one. It's just like, it's almost like too, you know, it's too obvious, it's too direct, it's too like, and some of us can tell like stock photos from not stock photos. Like that was definitely like you can tell this picture was like, took you zero effort to find. The nice thing about Unsplash is it's got kind of an artistic element to it. As you can see, these photos are very beautiful. They're very high quality, and they're kind of subtle. Like if I'm writing about, I don't know, like I try to keep my photos kind of subtle. Like it might be kind of about the post, but not directly like in your face. Cause like why, I don't know, hopefully that makes sense. I just like to be a little more artistic about the photos I use. And I only use one photo at the very top of the post. I don't like litter well, of course I write short posts. So I don't, it wouldn't make sense for me to put a bunch of photos, but I see a lot of posts on Medium. Like there's a photo like every paragraph that just kind of like doesn't really add to the story. It just kind of like kid, photo of kid, photo of kid, photo of kid. And like you can just tell it's like a stock photo of like a kid. And like, it's like, why are you doing that? We know you're talking about your kid. So anyway, Unsplash, all you do is you find a photo that you like. Now you can type in the search as well. Like if it is kids, you can type in kids. I know I just said not to be direct, but these are kind of cool photos of like kids. Maybe it's like this one or whatever. But you just download it here, and it downloads. And then you just go to your story there. And all you have to do is you can either drag it in like that, and that's it. Or you can, like, if you go to a, and then once it's in, or you can go to a new line and you see the plus sign, click on the photo icon, and then find it wherever it ended up. And then once it is in there, there's only a few options, which is nice. You can go on the left, you can go center, you can go, I like that one, it's my favorite. Some people go full screen. I think it's a little too much. It's just my personal preference is that one. And that's it. Now, here's the cool thing that a lot of people don't know. Okay, quick hack. You can link from a photo. So let me see if I can do this. So example, I have a spiritual counseling offer. Like that's what I do. So what I could do is I can find the photo. I made this photo on Canva, canva.com, I think it is, canva.com. Yeah, canva.com. It's free. It's amazing to make your own graphics. I won't go into that because that's not really this class, but canva.com, YouTube it, learn it, check it out. It's really cool. Anyway, I made on Canva a little image the other day. If I can find it. Okay, so there it is. My spiritual counseling graphic. I can drag it in the post. And what I can do is so there it is. And what I want people to do is I want people to be able to click on that and link to I want this to link to my spiritual counseling page. So if I highlight it in green, if I just click on it, if I go Command Shift K on a Mac, it might take a second. I think I confused it. That's weird, it's not doing it right now. I wonder why it's not doing it. This always works, but let me try this one. Maybe that's so weird. Did they cancel it? Anyway, you should be able to go Command Shift K on a Mac, and I'll send you this. There's an article that tells you how to do it. There's some formatting stuff, and I'll send you that article when I send out the recording of the video. But you should be able to put the link in there. You can link to it. I don't know why it's not doing it. That's weird. Anyway, yeah, I will try to figure that out. It's like Medium to change the game in the middle of my live class. You don't need Shift. Oh, really? Oh, Alex, thank you. Hang on. Thank you, Alex. Command K. And if you're on a PC, it's something else. And like I said, I'll get you the article that explains how to do this. But yeah, Mac, Command K at the same time, and then you just type. Then I can just go to my my page that I want to link it to, and I can Command K and then paste it into there. And that way when people click on it, they will be able to follow that link to that page. So pretty cool. Yeah, that's pretty much the deal with images. I think that in like basic formatting, that's it. Just get in there. I would just recommend getting there and playing around. But it's really easy. What's nice about this is it only gives you so many options. You're not overwhelmed with like, oh, what font do I want to use? What plugin do I want to use? Oh, I have to update my plugins again. I have to, blah, blah, blah. It's just like you only have one font. You only have a couple heading options. You only have a couple of quote options, but it works and it's beautiful. And they put a lot of work and time into making it that way. So what I love about Medium is that like you just get on there, you create. So get to creating, people, please. Anyway, let's jump into Q&A. We have, as long as you guys want to hang out, we can hang out. But go ahead and throw your questions in the Q&A section at this point, please. Let me know if I didn't cover anything, if I didn't clarify something, if I can add on something for you, add to something, whatever it is. Oh, credit. Okay. Great question. Do you credit the photographer? I do. Let me share my screen with you again. Here's how I do that. So for example, with this Unsplash image, thank you for that. See, Q&A saves me every time. I clicked off of here we go. Let's just go back to Unsplash. Come on, computer. We're like so impatient these days. Like it didn't pull up in 0.4 seconds. What's happening? Okay. So what I do, on Unsplash, gives you the name of the photographer there. What I do is I click on that name and it pulls up that photographer's profile. I highlight it, I copy, and then I go into the story. And then when you highlight a photo in Medium, right under it says type caption for image optional. You don't have to, but I do. And I paste that name in there. And then what I'll do is I'll take this link. This is Daria's Unsplash link. I'll copy that, go back to the Medium post, highlight that caption, and then link. And I'll paste the link in there and hit enter. And that way, if people like the photo, they can just click on that link and it goes right to her page and they can find more of her work. I'm a big proponent of that. You don't have to though. Like Unsplash, it's kind of like, they're kind of like use our photos, free, use whenever you want, free to do whatever you want, high res photos. So, but I like to source who that is. So great question. Thank you for that. All right, I have some questions here. Kevin Brown, Sally Hogg said, amazing. How do you use what you learned from her assessment paradigm in your preachments? Okay, so yes, Sally Hogshead is amazing. She's done a lot of work. So check her out if you haven't already. Sally Hogshead. I think her website is How to Fascinate or something like that. She has a test on there, like a personality type test. I don't know. It's kind of like I used to think about this. So I guess how I use it is like any kind of like personality test, any kind of like self-awareness type test. I like to, if I feel like I'm writing out of my element, if I feel like, oh man, I'm not sure if, there's an internal, you have to kind of, as you write, just like in any art, there's an internal GPS, if you will, that you kind of have to follow. And you can tell when you're kind of getting away from that. It's just, I can't explain it. You probably know what I'm talking about, but you can feel when you're getting away from that, right? So as soon as I feel that, that kind of like inner GPS say reroute. It's like reroute, Jonas. I stop and I'm kind of like, okay, this is definitely not me. Like it's I'm trying to be someone else. A little bit, is that okay when you start, especially when you first start out? You're going to be doing a lot of like imitating. Like I feel like most people do this. They imitate someone else until they find their own voice. But it helps to know who you are and who, or at least like who you are now. I'm not a big, huge, like I'm not locked into any kind of personality test. I feel like I'm always changing, but it's nice to have some self-awareness. And then when you feel like you're getting off track, you kind of use that assessment to get back on track and say, okay, here is where, kind of my sweet spot is, and this is where I should create from, is this place. So that's how I use that, Kevin. Great question. Okay, Jenna asked, can you go back and add something to an already, oh wait, we're gonna do the audio thing, right? Can I do this? Hang on a sec. Let me answer these real quick, and then I kind of should have done that. I should have just said raise your hand. That's okay. Jenna, if you want to raise your hand, I will bring you on audio if you'd like. You did it. Okay. All right, promote. Okay. Jenna, you there?
Okay. Here
there
I
we
am.
Are. Cool. Hello.
Hello.
Cool. Awesome. So yeah, go ahead and I have your question, but go ahead and tell. Go ahead and shoot that question again verbally, please.
I forgot what it was. I can you go back once you've published it? Let's say, well, it doesn't really matter how far forward, but let's say you have quite a few articles out there, 20 or 40 or something, and then you want to start linking to other other places or other articles. Can you go back?
You can. You just have to, I'll show you. Let me see here. Bear with me. Share my screen. So you just go to you make sure you're logged into Medium. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. You make sure you're logged in, and then you go to one of your old stories or whatever, however you want to get there. And yeah, you just go edit. And you can do whatever you want. You can link to the article, you can change, you can delete, you can do whatever you want. And then when you're done, you just publish it again and it changes it.
Okay, that's awesome.
So yeah, pretty easy to do that. So no worries.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Any other questions?
I feel like I should make one up.
No worries. It's all good.
I'm looking at my notes and not really. I guess I haven't been on Medium enough to see if everybody's kind of using the same images, but evidently it's not too, because I like Unsplash also, but I'm a worrier. I have to have something to worry about. So I worry that other people are going to, but like, we'll all start using the same.
Yeah. I've had that worry too, but and you do see that sometimes. You do see like the same image out there, but I like to kind of search around a little bit. Like that's why when I go to Unsplash, I usually I'll show you. I don't just pick like what's on the very top, because like it'll show you like the most like popular automatically. I like to either go to new, and this is just like all the like the newest ones, not necessarily the most popular, and find those. Or I'll like actually search for kind of the theme I'm looking for, kind of dig around in there. So but yeah, so
all right.
I'll try to find some more though. I know that there's another one that that's really good that I can't think of right now, but
that's all right. I've tried a bunch of them. I really do like Unsplash. They make it easy and they have good stuff. So
yep, that's why I like them too. So
okay,
awesome.
That's it.
Thanks, Jen. I appreciate it.
All righty.
Yeah. Let's see here. Let's see. Okay. if anybody else would like to raise their hand, I can do that same thing and bring them in on audio. So, or I can just go to the Q&A. Ida has a question. She says, I have a website that's linked to Facebook and Twitter. The next day I post that blog on Medium. Any problem with that? No problem. There's no problem with that. Yeah, I guess the only problem that pops up for me is that like you have readers who can read that in multiple places, which is like, I would rather people read all of my work in one place. That way everyone is kind of like, I can keep track of that better. Like, okay, I know how many, I kind of look at the stats and I kind of look at how many people read the article. And if it's in multiple places, it's kind of hard for me to do that. So I like to keep everything in one place. I do also put my posts, the two places I put every post is on Medium and then my daily email to people who are signed up for my daily email, who would rather just get those posts in email format. But there's no problem with that. Whatever you want to do, Ida. So, okay. Okay, that's good. I had asked, would Medium reach worldwide? I have readers out of Nepal, Saudi, Philippines. Yes, I do. I have readers worldwide as well, Ida. So Medium is a worldwide format. I know there's a couple countries that don't allow it or that have it blocked or whatever, but like for the countries that allow internet and allow free internet, then it's totally fine. Yeah, it's not just US. So in Europe. So, yep, wonderful question. Okay, anybody else like to raise their hand or just type their question in the Q&A? Cool. I don't think we have any further questions. I'm looking through the chat right now to see if I missed anything. Nope, I think we're good there. So thanks everybody for hanging out with me again today. This concludes day 2 of 6 in the Medium School. Hopefully you've gotten the Facebook invite. If not, let me know. I wish I could just give you a link to it, but I have to invite people via email. So let me know if you have not been invited to that.